Welcome everyone back to the G-Lew Show Friday night after hours live, and tonight we have a very special guest. Miss Genesis Delgado, aka Magic Girl, is in the building, and she's here to talk about a new project that she has out, Forever Genesis, the EP, and a little bit about her musical journey, background, and career thus far. So, without any further ado, this is the G-Lew Show after hours with special guest Genesis Delgado. Let's go. Yes, without any further ado, welcome to the G-Lew Show. Hold on one second. What's up, everyone? You know I am G-Lew, and tonight we have a very special guest. She is here, Miss Forever Genesis. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing tonight? Hello.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we may have a couple little Wi-Fi, maybe discrepancies. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. It was a little bit of delay. Okay, yeah, I don't know if it's a little bit of delay. What's going on? Maybe with the Wi-Fi. Hold on, let me see. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Well, I guess we're good. Well, before we get started, everyone, again, this is Genesis Delgado. If you don't know, she's aka Miss Magic Girl. And tell the people, Genesis or Magic Girl, what do you want to be called by? Because I know you have, that alias, but you are Genesis. Hold on, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted, Genesis. Somehow your mic, I don't know, your mic is. Can you unmute your mic is muted? We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go. Your mic was muted somehow. I don't know what happened. I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
First and foremost, thank you for having me on your platform. I truly appreciate it. So I'm trying to get everybody to jump on the boat and just use my name, which is Genesis or
Okay.
Forever Genesis, from here on out. So
Okay, that was my because I followed you for years and everything. I knew that was your handle, Forever Genesis, but I knew the Magic Girl as well. So is there a discrepancy, or you just don't want people to call you that anymore? What's going on with that?
I was actually just talking about this with Soren Baker. I just had a good interview with Soren Baker, and we were talking about why it was so important to rebrand myself with this project. And once upon a time, everybody knew me as the Talkbox girl. I did Talkbox covers of like Evelyn Champagne King. I did a lot of lowrider car shows, and I was known as the Talkbox girl. And I was given stage names that kind of stuck with me. I never chose them. People just started calling me that.
Right.
So first it was Miss Lady Magic, then it was Magic Girl, and now it's Forever Genesis. And that's why the EP is Forever XX Genesis. So both of the X's signify pretty much the death of the previous aliases that I was using. Not that I'm ashamed of them, not that I hate them or whatever. I know that they will always be a part of me, but they're not me. So now this project is finally allowing me to do me what I want and have total control over it without anybody having, a say over my creativity or who I am as an artist.
Right, right. Understood, understood. And also with the Magic Girl, I don't know if people, because I always wonder this. We know you do the talk box and you're a Magic Girl, and we know we had uh Mr. Magic, who does the talk box. I know that was inspiration to you. What was the connection with that for the people who may not know or who had that confused?
Well, first and foremost, me and MC Magic are not related. He's not my dad.
Okay.
But he is a good friend of mine, and, I actually, was very blessed to have, him give me my first show as Forever Genesis, and he kickstarted my EP, this year. It was February 15th at the Fox Theater. It was a sold-out show here in Bakersfield, California, in my hometown. A couple years ago, when I was with working with another music label, the person in charge of that label reached out to MC Magic and asked if it was okay that if I used Magic in my name, because the person on the label wanted to pay him homage. I didn't think it was a good idea because I personally didn't want to ride off of what somebody else had already built, because MC Magic is very known for Talkbox already. He's built his entire career off of that. And
Right.
I didn't want to ride off of that. I wanted to start my own thing. But because this label was so small-minded and they were thinking about the quick dollar, they wanted to put Magic in my name, and at that time, I was under contract. I had no say over what was going on, so they went and reached out, and Magic was very cool. Um, he said, "Yeah," gave me his blessing and everything was cool on Magic's part, so there was never any animosity or anything like that. But my issue was, again, it goes back to where I didn't wanna and, so that's how that happened, and then the name ended up just sticking to me, and then people on the internet just started, like, making up rumors and insinuating things and things like that, but the truth is somebody gave me that name, and it stuck with me, and that's why everybody calls me Magic Girl.
Right, right. Okay, okay. Understood. And I understand why you would want to disconnect that and make your own way. You know what I mean? Excuse me, just to cut out all the confusion. You know what I mean? For the people
Yeah,
who don't know.
when I finished the CP, MC Magic was one of the few people that, got it before anybody. One of the few people who got to listen to this project and gave me very, very good feedback before anybody, and I was very blessed to have people like Violet Brown listen to this project, Soren Baker. I've had, Chris the Glove Taylor, which was also a part of the project, listened to this project. I got a lot of people from radio, some people from Sony and Universal that listened to the project and gave me very good feedback. And MC Magic was one of the people that I felt was important to listen to this project first, because I felt that if anybody can take that dark cloud away from me, it was gonna be him. Like, he was gonna be able to give me that stamp of, she's doing her own thing. This is Forever Genesis. So for me, it was very important to show my project to Magic and ask him pretty much like, hey, if there's anybody that I want to put me out as an artist with this, put me on a show first, it's gonna be you, because I want everybody to see it's Forever Genesis. And it's very significant for that, and he made it happen. So huge shout out to MC Magic and Big D and Compton Kirk for making that happen. I truly, truly appreciate them, their family, and yeah, so it was very significant for me to show that project to MC Magic first because of, the whole thing with the name. So I thought it was important and very relevant for him to give me my first show as an independent artist as Forever Genesis.
Right, right. I understand. And shout out to MC Magic again, legend. And you mentioned some other legendary figures that played a part in this EP. And I know you have some legendary figures who played a part in your career and your mentoring, as well. You mentioned Chris the Glove. Shout out to Chris the Glove. I had a honor of interviewing him years ago, and some people may not know who he is, but Chris the Glove goes way, way back and is a real big figure in this thing called hip hop. Work with Dr. Dre and Ice-T. So many people, you know what I mean, early on in hip hop. Tell us how you have the connection, because I know first I don't want to go too far. I want to go back and get a little bit of your background and your story, because you come from Bakersfield, but you have a strong connection with a lot of artists and people in LA and a lot of different things. How did those connections come about for you, being that you are from Bakersfield?
The all of it started back when I met my friend, my ex-manager who passed away recently. His name is Alex G. A lot of
Right.
people know him as DJ Alex G or the Microphone Fiend. He had a lowrider that was featured on Lowrider magazine, the cover for 2 issues, and he was PR at a lot of radio stations, including Groove 99.3 and Spin FM in Ventura. I met him, and he was very heavily involved in the industry, and he slowly just allowed me to shadow him, and he began to mentor me and bring me around a lot of successful people.
Right.
Um, Over the years, I got to meet people like Nicole from the Pussycat Dolls. I got to sit down and talk to her. I got to have close conversations with Alicia Keys. I got to talk to
Wow.
her, which was really dope.
Wow.
I've also gotten to be around just a lot of people who made the industry what it was today. And my whole connection with Chris was actually a connection that I got after being introduced by Chris by Tony A. the Wizard, who's the host of Rhodium Radio and
Yeah.
also the Rhodium mixtape guy.
Right.
So I had a very good close friendship with Tony A, and he was very heavily involved in the project. And he introduced me to Chris the Glove. Then after Chris the Glove, he introduced me to K-Day Mixmaster Tony G, which became 2 very important pieces of the puzzle of my entire EP.
Right. Right. Shout out to all those people you mentioned again. Shout out to Tony. I know he's played a big part in your journey. You know what I mean? I've been following the journey. I actually got to meet you at Tony A's event a couple years ago. He had downtown LA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Shout out to Tony A, man. I think he's in New York right now doing his thing, or is he back?
Yeah, I believe he's in Harlem right now. He's out there doing his thing with DJ Thoro, and they're out there networking and getting some stuff situated.
Yeah. Shout out to Tony A, man. Definitely a big supporter of you. He always holds you in highly high regards, and always represents you and just loves you and says great things about you. I don't know how much he play a part in his new EP.
Yeah, he actually he produced the first song, which is called Loving You, that was mixed and mastered by Chris the Glove Taylor.
Okay.
And Tony A, funny thing about that song is that Tony A had produced that record like 30 something years ago. So it was sitting in his 8-DAT machine before I got a hold of it. And so all Chris had to work with was like 4 tracks, which is the MP3, because we couldn't find the stems in the DAT machine, and
Okay.
then my mix and mastered vocals and my harmony. So he had like 4 tracks to work with, and it came out absolutely amazing. And not only did he produce that one record, but he also co-produced 3 other records on the EP. He he helped me with my bottoms, and also gave me some very, very good like pointers on like what to put on, what to take away, because the majority, the EP was already written and produced before I had brought it over to Tony. So
Okay.
it just needed some polishing up. So he did a lot of polishing up with my good friend Dominator, as well as K-Day Mixmaster Tony G.
Shout out to Dominate. So you keep naming all these significant people that we don't want to miss out on and give them their props. Shout out to Dominator. Shout out to Tony G. a legendary DJ in West Coast LA, but period. You know what I mean? He goes way back to the mixed master days and all that. I'm a real hip hop head. And I know all these people you're naming. So shout out to Tony G, shout out to Dominator, again, Chris the Glove, definitely Tony A. All these people. Let me go back a bit and talk about you coming up, because I know, speaking of all the music, and I'm sure all your influences, you still say that your number one influence and favorite artist is your father. Tell us a little bit about your background in music and what part your father played in that.
Well, I come from a big family of musicians, and it started with his dad, which is my grandfather, that was one of the people who did like narco corridos back in the day, and his music is actually used in I believe it's called the Art Hooli collection, music collection in UCLA. So they use my grandfather's music to educate students on the history of narcotraficantes and how music was a big influence on pretty much like storytelling of what went on in the drug cartel world back
Right.
when it was getting over to the US. So my grandfather did that, then obviously my father followed his footsteps, and then he toured with a big band in the Spanish industry, was signed to Universal, RCA, the whole 9 yards. Um, he did that for many years. Growing up, all I knew was, like, being on the road with dad and being in the studio and hanging out with everybody, you know? Um, in the Spanish industry, I would go with my dad and be with people like La Mafia, Yonix, Brindis, and they'd be like, "Hey, what's up? Where's your dad?" And I'm like, "Oh, over there." To me, it was normal to see these superstars, and to everybody else was all like, but to me, it was normal. So, um, growing up, I always saw how the industry, like, it was just my dad loved to do it, and it never changed him. It never changed who he was as a person. He's just the same old person, and I always admired that about my father a lot, is that, whether he was on tour or at home, he was the same happy person because he had a passion and he loved music. And just I don't see that a lot in people. I see that a lot of people, in the industry, if they're not getting attention or their ego stroked, they're miserable. Like, they
Right.
truly don't enjoy doing what they do unless they're being, praised or something like that, and that's never something that I saw in my father, and for that, that's why I always say, like, I feel like my father has been my favorite person on earth because, he's also the reason why, um, I'm so involved with music, even though we haven't really done anything together until now that I'm older.
Right.
um He's been the absolute all of the influence in the music aspect of my life.
Wow, that's pretty dope. Shout out to your father and salute to him. Obviously did a great job raising you, because you're a great young lady, human being. You know what I mean? And I want to ask you too, because you seem to always, like I said, I followed you, and you always seem to be like, even though you've been in this business, you know a lot of big people, famous people. You've done a lot of great things, but you still seem to remain humble. Like you're not like a lot of these artists, females are like, the things they do, like I'm sure you could do a lot more just to garner more attention and all these things, but you never do that. You seem to be real, like just like regular, humble, you know what I mean? Not extra out in Hollywood and trying to do the most, you know what I mean, to get the attention. Um what do you contribute that to?
Um, it simply goes down to the fact of my relationship with God, and, I know a lot of people, the subject rubs people the wrong way, but I stand very firmly on, if, you don't love the Lord, you have nothing to offer.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be holy and you have to be a perfect person, because God doesn't love perfect people. There was only one perfect person who walked this earth, and that's Jesus Christ, nobody else. And
Preach.
so I believe that nobody sits above anybody, um, that that you look down upon. And For me, everything that this world has to offer is just materialistic, like, that doesn't excite me, like, what excites me is joy and the peace that I have in my life, and all of that comes from God, and I believe that God placed a lot of people in my life, whether they accept it or not, that, for example, like, people that were involved in my EP, I truly believe that God placed people like Tony A, Tony G, Chris the Glove in my path because there's just no other way that could have happened without, that perfect order. And I think for me to answer your question, like I said, it's just that nothing excites me. I've been there, done that. I've known what it's like to be broke, homeless, and hungry. I've known what it's like to have, not the richest person, but to have, luxuries, and none of that brings me joy. And I just find my peace and my joy in um, all of the good things that God has allowed and blessed me with in my life. And that's what I feel is the source of where just nothing excites me. Like, it brings me like, I'll smile, it brings me joy, but joy comes from the Lord, and if you don't have that inside of you, um, you'll never be content. You'll find yourself just, like, in a whirlpool in cycles, you know what I'm saying? And I don't like to live in cycles. I just like to live day by day, and whatever God has for me, that's what He has for me, and I'm okay with that.
Right, right. Wow, I really respect that, and the comments do as well. Everyone, is like, "Hey, man," and that's a beautiful thing because in this industry, not only in the industry, in this world we live in, period. It seems like so much of that has been taken away. Like people don't, put God or morals, anything. But they put everything else in the way, and it's like it's really destroyed a lot of character in people. You know what I mean?
It
And like I
really
said,
did because I truly believe that people, not to dwell on this subject, but I'll end it with this, that, people tend to have to believe in something that they see. They wanna that's what they believe in, like, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. But that's where faith, you have
right,
to have faith. Having faith is believing in something that you can't see. And
right,
that right there is the biggest and the most precious gift that you can have once you understand it. Because once you put that, you give way for that, everything else falls into place, and there's nothing greater than the joy of God. And like I said, just allowing something peaceful, something to believe in your life like that will make total major changes.
right, right. That is beautiful. But let me ask you this: how do you, or when did you come to the conclusion that you were going to stand firm on your beliefs and what you believe in and how you manifest that in this industry? Because in this industry, a lot of times that doesn't go, and people, okay, like even if, especially labels, and I know things have changed now with the industry. Now people can be more independent. You don't have to depend so much on labels, but going back, labels, okay, they're looking for this and that. They see you have all the talent, which you do. But a lot of times people focus more on the other things opposed as the pure talent, and they want you to do all these other things that you don't want to do. So when did you, or how did you learn to stand firm on what you believe in and say, hey, F all that? You know what I mean? This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna stand firm in my belief. And I don't care how it works in the industry, and I'll do this my way. Because it's hard to make it that way without the extras in this industry.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very difficult, but, the main key is to be different. And, I was just talking to a personal friend of mine, and I was telling him, I explained this to him, and I know that a lot of people wouldn't understand this, and the way I view things isn't everybody's way of thinking, but this is just where I'm at right now. And I always tell people this: whatever you have to go outside of God to get, you have to stay outside of God to keep.
Mm.
So
Say that again.
So it's whatever you have to go outside of God to get, you have to stay outside of God to keep. And I learned that the hard way because I come from a Christian home, and it's not a secret to anybody. I've always told everybody that. And I don't
Right.
believe in God because my mom and dad told me to believe in God. I grew up listening and point about God, but I believe in God because of my personal relationship that I encountered with Him in my adulthood. I'm about to be
Right.
30 in May, and I encountered that in my adulthood because I chose to seek. And going back to answering your question is that I was doing what everybody wanted me to do, which is like they wanted me to be like a to do creative things. They wanted me to be and act like everybody else. But in the back of my head, I kept hearing, I can open bigger doors than any of these people. Did you forget who I was?
Mm.
So once I finally said, you know what? I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be like you made me, different. That's when I felt the most peace, and I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna choose to be me the way I am. I'm not telling everybody to live like I do. I'm not telling everybody to think the way that I do. I'm just gonna go about this how I feel I need to go about this, and just finally do me, because I haven't been doing me these past couple years with the whole Miss Lady Magic or the Magic Girl thing. I've been doing what everybody else has been wanting me to do, and now I feel like I'm finally doing what I wanna do, and I'm doing that because I find my strength in just being who I was created to be to begin with.
Right, right. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing, Genesis. Also, let me say this. She says she's gonna be 30 soon. How did you, I mean, you seem like such a old, you have such an old soul though to be so young. You know what I mean? Always you're mature, you know what I mean? You're musically inclined, you know so many legends that have been doing this many, many years before you were even probably crawling around. So
Yeah.
what do you credit that to as well? Having such an old soul being so young.
Being around, people who were better than me.
Mm,
I don't like
okay.
to sit at tables with people who I think less of. You won't find me there. I love to be around people who are better than me. I love to be around women who are doing a lot more than I am, who are a lot more educated than I am, because I love to learn. I love to be a student at everything that I do, and I the knowledge and all of the wisdom that has been passed down to me by people like Tony G and Tony A, who are willing to pass the baton and not grab the baton and throw it over the gate so nobody gets it. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So, um,
mm,
I've been blessed to be around people, like that now. I can't say it's always been like that. It's never been like that. And I think that's what kind of molded me into the character that I have, was because for a long time I was around the people that I shouldn't have been around, and that was the learning lesson for me, to where, hey, I need to get something together. Something's not given, I got to do it right. So when I started to do things right, that's when all these positive people started walking into my life, and I started to allow them to feed life into me, where there was no life, and uh there was no how would I say, no confidence, because I had no confidence. That sucks, or you're not good enough, or this music's not good. I was letting people feed that into me, for a long time. So, I just and I enjoy being a student. I truly do. I enjoy being a student at everything.
right, right. That's dope. That's dope. And I could see like someone like Tony A too. Shout out to Tony A. He's another one that's really he tries to take his time. He really wants the quality out of music and the quality out of people. And being that he's been in the game so long, he still likes to work with new artists and everything. But I see that he always stresses that, you know what I mean, and preaches that
Mhm,
like quality of stuff and not trying to rush things or just being like someone else and to be yourself. And it's okay to take your time, you know what I mean, and make the product great.
mhm.
You know what I mean, and quality. And I can see a lot of those things have rubbed off on you. Let me go back a bit because I want to ask you. I don't want to dwell on this, but I wanted to ask you about this, your experience and what it taught you, good or bad. Because I know you had a um earlier in your career, you worked with Mr. Capone, high powered. Like, And I know I don't want to dwell on it because I don't know if it's or some negative things or whatever. But I just want to ask you about that experience for the people who don't know, because again, you've had an amazing journey, and you work with a lot of people and been down this road here, and it can help some people. So, what was that experience like, just briefly, and what did it teach you, or not, or positive or negative did you take from that?
Um, there wasn't anything like for say like crazy that went on. It was just, at the end of the day, it was bad business, and I learned I did not know the industry as well as I do today. So through that, I got to meet people who got me out of that bind and introduced me to the real side of the industry, to the professional people in the industry, and the people who were really about the business, and educated me. Um, the time there was short. It was bittersweet. It wasn't what I expected at all. It was everything that everybody said it was going to be.
Mm,
But like I said, I chose to find out for myself because I never judge a person by what everybody tells me. I judge you for how you are with me.
right.
So on a personal level, there's no animosity between me and Capone. There's no like bad blood or beef between us. I just simply don't work with the label anymore.
Right. Got you. Got you. That's why I said I didn't want to dwell on it. I just wanted to speak on it first to let the people know that you were, because, good or bad with Capone, we know his history
Hmm.
and what he's done in the game. And for you to work with him and be a part of that, again, that just shows a part of your great journey you've been on. You know what I mean? So I just want to let the people know that did not know that you did work with him, and that adds to your resume and what you've done in
Yeah,
this
it
game.
does.
You've done a lot, Genesis. You have. Um, Now I want to move forward, but go back a bit to your not upbringing, but your inspiration, maybe your um because I know that you love R&B, but you did talk about your dad, what he did and the music he did. So how were you how could I say this, inspired to do what you do and to start making music the way that you make it? And I mean, and even going to the talk box, because a lot of people can do the talk box, claim to work the talk box, but everyone can't do it like that, and do it how you do it, Genesis. Like, so tell us about how you first were inspired to do music. Who were your inspirations, and how did you get started and become so great at it?
I never thought that I would be doing music like that. This would be like a serious career for me. I
Right,
always thought that because music was so heavily influenced in my family, I thought my dad would be disappointed in me if I chose to pursue a music career. And only because he always said, unless music pays the bills, you better go get a job. And if
right,
your personal life is not in order, your career will never be in order. So you need to figure out what it is that you want to do. And in my younger years, I wasn't really in the right path. I was around the wrong people doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And so I thought that would always, frown upon it. And I never thought it was anything to take seriously. But one day I was at work and I was a behavioral therapist for kids with autism. I
okay,
graduated high school early, so I was out with the work permit at 16 and a half. So I had barely turned 18 and I was at work and I heard somebody's cell phone go off. And at that time, I didn't know what it was, but it was playing, I believe it was, "Heard It Through the Grapevine" by Zapp and Roger. It was a ringtone. And
okay,
in my mind, I was like, "What in the hell is that?" Like, that sounds dope. So
right,
I went home and I Googled robot voice, robotic voice. I didn't know what it was called. I was just Googling it, trying to find what it was. I eventually found out what it was, and I ordered my Talkbox on eBay. I said, "I want one of these," I was like, "What is this?" So and this was way back when YouTube was barely becoming a thing, so there wasn't really YouTube tutorials, there wasn't any of that, so I was kinda just putting things together, and eventually I found out what it was and how to use it.
right,
Um, then I got introduced to old school music because I was a bit older and out of the house, and like I said, I grew up in a Christian home, so we weren't allowed to listen to what they call secular music.
right,
So
right.
I didn't know what mainstream artists were until I was 18 and out of the house.
Right.
So when I got introduced to old school music, I got introduced to like Evelyn Champagne King, Whitney Houston, all the whole 9 yards. And I said, you know what? I'm not a great singer, but I think I can make this sound dope on a talk box. So that's how that happened. And I ended up doing old school covers. My first song was the Saturday Love by Evelyn Champagne King. I completely reproduced the record and then gave it like a funk and old school feel. And I started
Classic.
doing that at car shows. And I was going I kid you not, I went on a 2-year tour with that song, with one song. I was doing car shows every weekend for 2 years with one song.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then after that, it just became, you know, I got more experience. People started recognizing who I was. I started experimenting with different genres and different things, and it
So
became, like a career, like it was paying me. So, it, uh it opened up a lot of doors for different things, and because the music, the mainstream music was so fresh in my ear, I was just excited, like, ideas were just coming out of, like, my brain because I grew up listening to people like Jackie Velasquez, Kira Sheard, the Clark sisters, Stacey Orico, so I was just strictly in the, gospel genre, so I didn't know anything else from that. So hearing everything else and how it was so fresh in my mind, it just gave way to so many ideas, and, then I got introduced to, like, Foxy Brown, Roxanne Shante, Just Ice, and I
wow.
just, like, my brain just freaking went
You
wild,
did
and I was
amazing.
like, "Wow, like, this is so cool," and I was showing my cousin, and I was like, "Listen to this song, dude," and he's like, they've been around for like 30 years. And I'm like, "What?" I'm over here thinking it's new music. And he's like, "No, they've been around for like 30 years. You're like slow. You've been in a cage or something." And so I just like slowly just started experimenting with different things.
That is hella dope because you said Roxanne Shante, Just Ice. Like you really went back to some real legends and day ones. And I appreciate that too when I see people, younger people like really especially if they're into music and if they're doing this, really go back and get the knowledge and the history of some of these artists because a lot of people don't. And then even going back to you, with the talk box because you are younger and I'm sure you came up in that time too when not the original talk box but the auto tune like took over. Even to this day it's kind of dying down, but how did you not get those two confused and not want to take the auto tune route opposed to taking the real talk box route? Because that's your era really, right?
Yeah, no, it really is. But I always told myself because T-Pain was so big at that time, I was like, I don't want to sound
Right.
like T-Pain. I want to sound like Zap.
Right. Okay. Salute.
So
That's
that's
dope.
that's pretty much what it was.
But how but at the same time, how did you not what did you personally think about auto tune compared to Zap? And again, I know you just said you wanted to go the Zap route, but your age group and what was going on was auto tunes, and it seems like the people of your the younger people don't even respect the real, like the Zaps and the talk box. They look at T Pain like that. That's what it was, or who started that. Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's just uneducated people, they just have these ideas in their head and they stick to it and they run with it. They don't allow anybody to educate them on what music and the timeline and how monumental and how influential people were from day one to present. There's a lot of
Right,
people that my generation that like, "Oh, he's whack." And I'm like, "Dude, he literally paved the way for hip hop. Like, what are you talking about?" So,
right,
like, they just are not educated on who's who in the industry.
right. That's a fact. And I'm glad that you are here so you can, I'm sure you educate a lot of people your age or people that don't know, like you just said, because a lot of people just don't know. And it's not a bad thing because a lot of people sometimes just don't know. You know what I mean? So it's good that you can have people, you can educate people and let them know because a lot of times people just don't know. You know what I mean? You can't hold that against them, right?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree.
Blackstreet, yeah, Blackstreet was hard too. Teddy Riley. You know a lot of these artists. Who are some of your favorite besides Roger, rest in peace? Some of your favorite artists who took the talk box and did what they did, because a lot of people took it and did their own thing with it and made it great. You know what I mean? Who were some of your favorite artists that rocked the talk box?
Uh, definitely Battle Cat.
Battle Cat.
Um,
Yes.
Battle Cat
Gotta
has
give.
to be my favorite, and over DJ Quick. And I only say that because Battle Cat has a lot more records. You know, with the talk box, I believe Quick only dropped, what was it, 1 or 2
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Talkbox, which is dope. Like, it was really, really good. But then I heard in the grapevine that supposedly it wasn't even Quick, that it was some dude named Solo Truth who recorded that, which I don't
Oh.
believe, because I'm like,
Oh.
there was a lot of people who saw Quick do it.
Oh. Uh-oh, Genesis. Don't get in trouble. I'm just talking shit. Hey. But Genesis, look, I'm so glad that you mentioned Cat, because Cat is one who doesn't get his proper. I mean, on the West Coast here, we know, but Cat does not get his proper due credit. And Cat was there from day one, like you said, way back, and he's still doing it. And he's so humble, like yourself. Like, Cat doesn't try to get all the credit and, hey, give me mine. Cat is a humble ass dude. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you said that, because to me, I tell people that Cat is my favorite over Quick and Dre. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking talk box. I'm talking about production, because, man, Cat is just cold, man, and especially on the West Coast, man. Cat, I just don't think he gets his due his respect that he deserves. So I'm glad you mentioned Battle Cat, for sure. Um, and who and also, let me ask you this, Genesis, you said that you started, right, and then you started going on tour. How did you get those connect? How did you just jump right into it and, become a household, or just going on tour at that?
Well, it started in the lowrider scene. The lowrider community is very big and supportive, and it started, a lot of it was word of mouth. So somebody would see me at that car show, and then they'd be like, "Hey, we need you at this car show," and then it just became a domino effect where everybody was just getting me for all kinds of shows, and I just got really busy for a long time, and it was super fun. At that time, I didn't know I was getting ripped off, but the
Oh,
person who was booking my show was keeping all the money. I didn't know. I didn't know
wow.
about it. I'm over here just doing it for fun, and this
Right.
guy's pocketing all the money every weekend, and but that's a different story for a different day, and that's how I learned the darker side of the industry, because this guy, yeah, it just became a big domino effect, and keeping a good name with all of these people who booked me. They eventually came back and booked me again, and we had these amazing relationships, and now, my fountain has not run dry, and I'm very blessed to say that.
That's dope. And I'm glad you said that too, because one thing being that you're so young, and then second of all, I don't know who was guiding you or management or whatever, but how, of course, you just said you learned because you were getting jerked and all that, but speak about this business side, because so many people come into it, and especially people like yourself who have so much love just for the music and artistry. You know what I mean? But when you come into this, you have to realize that it is a business, and you're gonna have people who don't give a damn about how much you love it and the artistry. They're here for the business, and they're sometimes they take advantage of that. You know what I mean? So how were you able to come in and learn the business side of this? You know what I mean? And say, okay, I love this shit and all this, but I got to learn this business, because there's people here that's going to take advantage of me.
Yeah, you have to have people around you that you can trust, and obviously it's hard to find that. Um, what First and foremost, never mix business with pleasure. That will never work out. Never, ever. I don't care what you say and how much you think, oh, it's gonna, no, it'll never work out. Find
Preach.
yourself a manager who knows what the hell they're doing, and who has your best interest, and who will sit there and call you and cuss you out and fight you because you're being hard-headed, because those are the people who really give a damn about you. If you have somebody who's nice to you all the time and who's a yes man and just never critiques what you're doing, and just, you don't want those kind of people around you. You really don't. I've had some of the coolest assholes you'll ever meet manage me, and they are like my bro
Right.
of in a pool that is full of fish,
Yeah.
you know.
That is so dope, Genesis. I love again that like I love like people like you, like especially I love to see younger artists and just people, man, with so much knowledge and humility. You know what I mean? And I love that about you, Genesis. And how speaking of again, say like you're speaking to a younger artist or someone that's watching you right now who's trying to get into the game, and you like you said, that's a great thing you said. You can't have yes, that's just not gonna work. You know what I mean? And some people have egos and all that. They want their ego stroked and all that. But if you really want to make it in this business and move forward and get the best potential out of yourself, you have to have those proper pieces in play, right? And you can't have yes men in these things. How does one go about, say, a young lady that's listening right now who looks up to Genesis, go about getting her stuff together? She may be talented, she may be dope, she got her YouTube channel or a page or her little mixtape and all this, but she needs the right management. She needs the right things. How does one even go about getting the right manager? Because you may think your manager is just
Uh,
someone you rock with, your mom or whoever. How does one go about getting the right manager?
find somebody who has their best interest for you at heart, and I say that in the way of find people who believe in your project, especially if you're a female, because it's very hard to make noise in an industry that is dominated by men. And a lot of women will be used or they'll be lied to. And there's a lot of people, not everybody's like this. And this is the stereotype that I preach all the time, because all men in the industry are not like this. Not all men in the industry want to fuck. They don't.
Right.
It's the truth. It's not always like that. And a lot of people give it a bad name for women, make it hard for women in the industry, but that's where us as women need to have enough respect for ourselves and hold ourselves responsible and say, I don't need to sell my ass to get a record deal. And that's
Right.
the biggest statement that I've ever that I'm proud to give, because I don't need to sell my ass to get a record deal or to sell a record. And I'm around a group of people who protect me from that. And being a female, you got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to find people who are going to put you in the place of people with business and not in the place of people to bullshit. So you got to learn how to discern discern that. Even being a guy in the industry, you got to learn how to discern the good people and discern the bullshit. Just learn how to weed them out, and it's not easy because you never know, but you'll never hit a home run unless you swing. So
That part.
it's all
Yeah.
a gamble. It's all a gamble.
Right, right. Genesis too. Obviously you were raised correctly. Shout out to your father, your family. You come from a you've already said a Christian background, and you were raised, I'm sure, really what's the word I'm looking for when you're um sheltered from a lot of the BS, right?
Yeah.
So you obviously already knew what's going on, you have your mind on right. But when you come into this industry, like you said, you deal with a lot of men, a lot of shady people, but sometimes those people are wolves in sheep's clothing. Were you always able to see that and know, okay, already from the jump, okay, I know what's going on with this and that? And how did you learn to separate that? And also know, like, or did it ever get to you like, man, like, I really love this stuff and I got the talent, but what do I have to do? Or did you ever sometimes even have to question yourself? Am I doing the right thing? Or should I do this? Or should I do that? Or were you always able to stand firm on what you believe in and not to let the bullshit get to you and deter you?
I let the bullshit get to me and deter me to the extent where it began to affect my mental health. I was so naive to the real world that I was believing everything that everybody would tell me. And my me being so naive got me into a lot of trouble, in the sense of where I was being put in places where I was getting burned for money, where I was trusting the wrong people too much.
Right.
And after learning that the hard way, I kind of got, I picked up like, hey, this is not right. Like, doesn't make sense. So I began to educate myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this because I want to know if this guy's ripping me off or not. So me
Right.
learning the industry helped me know what was right and what was wrong. And obviously the good connections with people, the good friendships that I started to have with the right people after time, and they would give me advice and things like that.
Right.
So I can't say that I always knew because I didn't. I learned all of it the hard way. I learned it all the hard way. Did I know when men were making advances to me? Yeah, because it stuck out like a sore thumb. But I've also seen a lot of girls that were popping at the time when I was coming out that didn't make the right choices, and they're still doing the same thing they were doing 3 years ago.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So I want to ask you this too. I'm going to ask you two things because when did you, or do you just because like I said earlier in the show, when I did say like you have all the talent, you have all the skills, everything, but sometimes things may not move as fast as you want to. I don't know where you want to be at this point in your career, or where you're trying to be, and things may not be moving at that pace, or it's like, damn, I should be here but I'm not. So how do you mentally say, okay, I'm cool with this. I'll take this long road. I'll be patient. You know what I mean? Because everyone can't do that, and some people just, like Nip said, rest in peace. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean? And you have been running this marathon, and you've been staying firm in quality with everything you've done. But I'm sure it can be discouraging being with this industry. I don't know if it is or not, but how do you mentally say, okay, I'm here for the long term, and the long, for the marathon, not the sprint, with as far as your career?
Life hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was talking about this in the other interview. I'm cancer free now. I beat cancer.
Oh,
But
wow.
while I was going through the treatment and recovering and all of that.
Hold up, Jen. I did not know that, and I want to say blessings to you and thank God for. I did not even know that, but man, thank God for that, and blessings to you, Genesis, for coming through that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. And going through all of that, I felt very discouraged. Like I was like, oh, this project is really never gonna get out. I'm never gonna do anything with my career. I didn't finish college. Just so many things were like coming down on me like a ton of bricks. And then finally, when I started to see some light, but in the midst of all that storm, I told myself, I said, hey, what more do you want? Like, you're alive, you're going through this, you've done all this work, you're successful, you're in the midst of all these people, your project is co-signed by some of the biggest names in the West Coast. How much more confidence do you need to continue doing what you're doing? And that was a reality check for myself. Then at that time, I got so excited, and I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I gotta keep pushing. I'm exactly where I need to be. Like I'm not behind at all. My mind was telling me I was behind because I was allowing everybody else to like be like, oh, you never did anything with yourself, you're not doing music or blah blah blah. I was allowing everybody to be inside my head, but I told myself, you know what, I'm exactly where I need to be, and I'm 1000% confident that this project is exactly where it needs to be. It'll go where it needs to be, and it's just gonna be, um, a straight road from here on out. Not a perfect one, not a happy one. It's gonna be bumpy. I know that, but it's gonna be exactly where it needs to be, and I don't have any disappointments or regrets at this point. I can't say that I do.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Shout out to Genesis. what do you want people? Because now okay, for the people who don't know, the name of the new EP is Forever Genesis, and
Yes.
and okay, before I ask you this, I'm going to ask you a few things, but tell us about the project now. Is it out? What's the current status of the project for the people who don't know? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. You were cutting out a little bit.
Okay. Now we're saying, what's the current status of the project? Can the people get it now, or we want to know the current status of the project right now?
Yeah, so my self-titled EP, it's called Forever XX Genesis. That's how you can find it on all streaming platforms. Um, you can stream it now. It is on all streaming platforms. If you guys want physicals, I do have CDs and vinyl available on my Shopify. That link is in my Instagram account. My Instagram is Forever X Genesis. You can find it there. But there will be a music video here dropping soon for actually the one of the records that actually got picked up on radio. This EP is actually being syndicated on 8 of the biggest stations um, here. Super excited because that's something that just falls on your lap. A lot of artists have to pay for that, and I've had a tremendous support. And Lost in You has been like the most popular song on the EP that has been played on the radio a lot. And I just shot a music video for that last week. Huge shout out to from Foundation Media, who's truly believed in this project as well, and has extended his resources to helping me get a very professional video done to exceed my expectations for this project, because this project has to set a standard. I told myself, I said, this project has to set a standard. Like, if you, it's going to set a standard in the quality. It's going to set a standard in how artists promote themselves, and it's also going to set a standard on how I believe that us as Latinos should be representing music genre in a very positive and professional way. I produced 98% of this EP. I wrote 100% of this EP. I
Mm,
did the album cover, all of the designing for this EP. So I
mm,
did absolutely everything on this EP. So
you go.
I was very adamant that I wanted to set a new bar, and I am thankful that the team that I have has helped me set that. And I'm also thankful that people, like I said, Pablito has extended his professional resources to contribute to the standard that I'm trying to set.
Jesus. Boss shit right there, man. Shout out to Genesis Delgado. Wrote, produced, graphics, everything. Like, and I know you have graphic design in your background. A lot of these things you have in your background, like you are already, you know what I mean? I know all these things attribute to what you do. You have so many talents. Like, do you I mean, I don't know what else you have going on. We know the people just because this is what we see, the music. But do you have any other aspirations? Do you have anything else going on that you want to do, or you already are doing, that people may not know?
Well, I was a mortician for 6 years, so I worked in the funeral industry as well as a mortician for 6 years. I tell everybody knows that that's my passion, and I kind of talk about it on I host a show. It's called Dark Secrets. I will be dropping my first episode. It's like a podcast that I have, and I'll be dropping my first episode here soon. Is DARCSECRETZ. You can find it on my Instagram though. And I talk about my experience as a mortician. And I tell everybody that if this music thing doesn't work out and I have to go back to an 8 to 5, I'm going back to be a mortician. Because
Hey,
that's
hey,
that's my passion. I just love it.
I'm glad you spoke on that because I know that was in your bio and all that, the mortician. But I don't want to dwell deep into that. I want to keep it moving. We got a little bit of time left, but being a mortician, like, because I know someone else and she was a female who did that as well. That is some, like, how do you,
Mhm.
like I don't know if people can fathom what that is about being a mortician. You have to deal with dead bodies and all these type of things. Like, and then also too, like you being a Christian, how does all of that, like, how do you um what's the word I'm looking for? Like, how does all that, like, how do you deal with all that and like understand it? Because it is real. That's one thing people don't want to face realities of things, but we have to die, and it's someone that has to fix you up and make you presentable for your wake or funeral and all that, and that's what morticians do. So speak a little bit about that, if you can.
Um, my being able it's not easy, it's mentally draining. There was times where I'd have to take breaks, like I'd take 2 weeks off or just a leave to detach myself from the reality of what's going on. I would see everything from homicide to suicide to accidental. God has been the only perfect peace. Well, God and his word, his promise, right?
Right.
You live to die and you die to live. I
Ooh.
always would remind myself of that, is that there's a bigger promise of for those who die in Christ. And death is not something that should be sad. And when you're celebrating, when you're at a funeral, the funeral is for the living. It's not for the dead because the dead is not there. So it's a
Right.
way of celebrating those who were with us.
Facts.
So it's definitely not an industry for those who are spiritually sensitive. It was very heavy for me at times, and there was a lot of creepy stuff going on. Um, but it's definitely something that there was times where I would actually get students who weren't on the right path, and I would bring them not in work because we're legally not allowed to bring them in there, but I'd bring them to the mortuary, and they would hang out with me for a day, and I'd give them a hands-on reality of what death is like.
Right.
And 9 out of 10 times, a lot of these students would reanalyze what they were doing in life, and a lot of these kids turned out to be alright. They turned out to be alright, so I think we just all need to have a bit of a more open mind when it comes to death, because it's death is what you make it. It really is.
Right. Right. I
And
agree.
we're all gonna go through it, and it doesn't matter who you are. We're all gonna die. So
Right.
we gotta be
Exactly.
okay with it at some point.
Exactly. That's why I just wanted you to touch on that briefly, because people, even though you will look at that being a mortician or whatever, and people may be like, "Oh, that's creepy," but that's just people not facing the reality that, like you said, we all have to die. That's just the fact of life. And another fact is, like you said, it's better to be on that side of Christ and be good with God and going out there, because we all got to go. You know what I mean? That's a fact. But it's better to be on that side right there and know that you're right there. I would rather be better good going out that way. You know what I mean? Than some other way. You know what I mean? So just food for thought, people. And Genesis, let me ask you this too. Again, you have so much going on. You have an amazing career. You're a mortician on the side. You have a lot of hats that you wear. And you're so young. She's only gonna be 30 soon. Like, at the end of the day, what is gonna make you? Because like I'm sure you're doing so much things that keep you busy, and you're probably supporting a lot of people and doing a lot. But at the end of the day, what is gonna make Genesis happy? I mean, I don't know, as far as your situation, you want to get married, the things you want to do, but at the end of the day, what is gonna make Genesis happy for herself personally?
Um, it's just to continue to do what is required of me in the sense of being responsible with my personal life and also being responsible with my career. I've been able to start a cleaning business, and it's been very successful, and I am very proud to say that in the midst of things working out, both of my parents are able to stay home full time and help me with my two bundle of joys that I have. I have one boy and one girl, and they're able to assist me with that and be full time grandma and grandpa. Well, uh, daughter over here gets to pay all the bills and make sure everybody's okay.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful right there. And I'm sure your parents are very proud of you because anyone would be proud. I'm proud of you, and I'm not, what I mean. I'm just proud. I love to see, man, just people being just a great inspiration, a great guiding light, a shining light, and someone like yourself who can teach people and even older people. I'm older. I love to see like you said earlier. I'm one too who loves to be around people I can learn from and great people. You know what I mean? I don't like to be around ignorance and people, what I mean, just negativity or bullshit. I love to be around people who can help me grow spiritually, mentally, what I mean, whatever. That's what I like to be around. And I love to see younger people who have that too, because that gives me energy. You know what I mean? When you see someone young and full of just great knowledge, education, and spirituality, all that, you know what I mean, that keeps us older cats going too. You know what I mean? That lets us know, man, there's something there, because sometimes we look at a lot of the younger generation, it's like, man, they're lost. So when you see people like yourself, you know what I mean, who have it, it's like, okay, it is some out there who are still carrying the torch. You know what I mean? And that we can believe in and be proud to look at and say, man, they're gonna be okay. You know what I mean? So you're one of those. And I just want to say we're very proud of you, Genesis. I am, and I'm sure everyone you work with is. I see Tony A is very proud of you. Everyone that you work with is very proud of you, Genesis, of what you're doing. And I'm glad that we have you here to continue to do what you do. You know what I mean? I just want to say thank you for not only blessing my platform, but bringing that knowledge here and speaking to my audience. You know what I mean? And whoever else is watching or who will watch this later and can say, man, we can be proud of that. Thank you.
No, well, truly, thank you. I truly appreciate the consideration for your platform, and I am very grateful that I got to spend some time here and be interviewed by you. It's always exciting, um, and I'm just really thankful, and thank you to everybody who's watching, and thank you to everybody who took the time to accept anything that was said either by myself or by you. I just wish nothing but the best for yourself and your platform and everybody watching, nothing but love and blessings and abundance. And I hope that you guys can continue to live a happy, joyful, and a blessed and peaceful life.
Yes, thank you, Genesis. And tell the people once again where not only they can follow you, where they could go right now and go download that new EP. We got to get that out there. Let the people know where they can follow you, where they can go get the new EP, merch, whatever else you want the people to know about, please.
Okay, so you guys can follow me on Instagram. That is my main social media link, which is Forever X Genesis on Instagram. All of my Shopify links and my YouTube links are in my bio, to where you guys can purchase physical copies of my music, get merch, posters, shirts, all the good stuff like that. And then also the link to my YouTube, where there is some of the EP already up. You guys can look up the EP on all streaming platforms under Forever XX Genesis. If you guys tap that in any platform, it should pop up. But like I said, also the links are on my Instagram account. That's where you guys can find me.
That part. And DD has all of her links in all of the chats right now. Everyone in the chat, shout out to my producer, DD Hairston. She has all the links, and we'll have all the links in the description as well. So when you go back and watch this, you can find all of her links. So please go support her new EP, Forever Genesis EP. Right now, the video is dropping soon. Go to her Shopify and get exclusives. Me personally, I want the vinyl and I want the CD, because I like memorabilia, and I like, I'm old school, so I like the vinyl and the CD. So I want both of those autographed, please, Genesis.
Absolutely. The cassettes are actually being pressed right now too, so I'm taking it way back. We're doing cassettes as well. That'll be here in a couple weeks.
Ooh-wee. Okay. Oh, I gotta have that too. Shout out to Genesis, man. Shout out to Two Face. I see you, my boy. But please go support her. The new EP, Forever Genesis. Follow her on IG, Forever Genesis with 2 X's. Okay. And just support this young lady, because she's doing great things. This is what we need. This is what we need right here. Real artistry, real passion, and real love. You know what I mean? And she loves God, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. So shout out to Genesis. Thank you again, Genesis. I really, really appreciate it. This was a great interview. I don't even like to call it interviews, a great conversation. You know what I mean? And I'm sure all the people who watched it appreciate it as well. So you enjoy the rest of your evening, your weekend, and thank you again, Genesis. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show, and I hope to be back on soon.
Yes, we definitely will have you on soon. So again, everyone, much love and respect. Genesis Delgado, Forever Genesis, the EP out right now. Everyone have a great weekend. I am G-Lew. This is the G-Lew Show. Peace.